Well, it's time for Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics, and really only going to talk about one comic that's current, but then again not. And I'll get to some Spider-Man comics in a bit, but only briefly. This, and I'm guessing it's part of the deal since the main villain is Kang, with the movies coming and Kang becoming the next big villain for the movies. They're doing stories with him, and so they did this, the Avengers War Across Time, and that's what Kang does, and so it looks back to the Avengers past. And and just by this issue alone, I don't know if they're just going to say, well, this is the timeline where the Avengers came out in the 60s, because it kind of looks like it. Or if they're just going to say, oh, yeah, this was just, 10, 15 years ago or something like that. But there's the old Jack Kirby designed corner box art. And this is a story they've sandwiched in between actual original stories they did, and the editor, just like in the good old days, notes that in there. And they're doing that a lot these days, I've noticed, in the few that I've looked at. But this one, it's of interest because it's back to basics, which unfortunately probably only because it takes place in their past. But you got Paul Levitz, veteran writer, and of course Alan Davis, excellent artist. I'm sure Rochelle's nice too. I'm just not familiar. Sorry. If that's the colorist, it's very good color. It's great. It's a great issue. And one of the things that I thought about this is, if they continued on in this vein, even if they brought it into modern times, but with the templates of storytelling and whatnot in place, this could be their answer to World's Finest, which, as of now, is the best superhero comic available, from, one of the big two, which aren't so big anymore. Gee, I wonder what happened. So anyway, so there you go. Then they set it up like in the old days and all that type of stuff, which is nice and all, but at the same time, it's probably very fleeting, and they'll get back to their dumb crap afterwards. But it just goes, it's kind of, if that happens, it's really rather cruel, because it's, we could give you the comics that everybody wants, but we're not gonna. So there they are. They've just gotten back from a previous adventure, which shows you, if you missed Avengers 11, so there you go. That's the adventure that this is taking place in, or at the outset when they went home. And they just forgot to tell you about this other adventure they had. But then again, probably with Kang involved, it may end up that it never happened in this type of thing. But there's Kang in the distant future watching over the Avengers. And there was a story where they utilized a fake Spider-Man by Kang to take them on. And so that, Avengers 11, so he talks about his Spider-Man robot, and they defeated him and all that sort of thing. And so there's Kang's lair. This is what Kang looked like originally. And you can see his future as well. The city doesn't look so great. I'm King the Conqueror. Well, then a bit of a trophy room. He has a lot of collection of Tony Stark's Iron Man armor suits over the years. He's got a Quinjet. He's got Thor's hammer. That looks to be Doctor Strange's cloak, I think. And of course, Doctor Doom's suit of armor, and Captain America's shield, all busted up from different periods of time. And a Fantastic Car, of course. And so he's plotting another battle to get rid of the Avengers. But obviously in a time different from when they must have gone, But that's what he does, and there's so many different timelines and whatnot. It's hard to tell which version of Kang is it. I mean, they've had him killed off a time or two. He says, it doesn't matter. That was just a divergent timeline version. So, what does he do? Well, instead of Spider-Man, he sends the Hulk. So it's a Hulk robot, but apparently with the Hulk's heart beating in it from some future time after the Hulk has died. So that's what he does. And hey, you can tell he's not the real Hulk. See? But I don't know. Apparently Hank Pym just doesn't pay attention to that just yet. And the battle's not going well for them because, hey, it's Hulk. But then Thor enters the picture with his hammer, you know. And that really hurts Hulk and gets him upset. So this is all the pages I'm going to show. But you can see Alan Davis is still in command of his artistic skill. It looks classic. It looks really good. And Paul's writing is pretty standard, but it's such a breath of fresh air, you know. It's just basic superheroics and all that. Where it goes, well, that's the troubling part. But for right now, this is a really good issue. And I mean, well, yeah, I'm not spoiling too much. They do win. But the overall plot of what Kang is up to. And I suppose this could be utilized with time travel to suggest, you know, something's afoot and to explain changes to the Marvel Universe and whatnot. But some of the telltale signs here, well, there's a newsstand, there's a guy wearing a hat. It looks, you know, they look all like the old, it's a period piece of some sort. So then it's like, could they use Kang as a means by which to do shenanigans that explains the time changes of the Marvel Universe and stuff like that. They've already admitted to a multiverse, so is it necessary? Not really, but I imagine it'll evolve into something like that or devolve, depending how you want to put it. But yeah, this basic template of comic book storytelling with these characters would be greatly appreciated and is on par with the approach to World's Finest. And they just do this and just forget about all the other crap, and they'd be good. You know? Probably not going to get it, though. Probably the end result will get ruined. I don't know how many issues this is supposed to run or what have you, but I do recommend this one, and you know, I'll give it a shot and see what they do, and that'll be fine. Even if it's its own separate thing and it just becomes an ongoing series, I'll just read that and forget everything else. And you know, may the best title win, and it's pretty obvious which one would win, you know. But anyway, so yeah, ultimately, if it just goes back to their crappy form that they've been doing, then this is kind of cruel. Because again, it shows you, hey, look what we could be doing. But we're not going to do it. And so that would be awful. Speaking of bad comics, I dipped back into Spider-Man. Because Hobgoblin came back and they did this little run. And it wasn't that bad. A lot of things I don't understand what's going on, why Peter Parker is so willing to be friends with Norman Osborn. A reformed Norman Osborn, you could follow that to a point, but I don't really believe that Peter would become best buddies with him. Unless they've done some time travel shenanigans and the Gwen Stacy story didn't happen, which I doubt. But I didn't get that from the story. So Ben Reilly is now a villain. He wants revenge against Peter Parker because he blames Peter Parker for being Peter Parker, and he doesn't get to be Peter Parker. So he ends up teaming up with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, who, of course, is a clone of Jean Grey. So they understand each other on that level. So her dimension that she rules, Limbo, which is sort of a silly version of hell, invades the Earth, and so it's a crossover with the X-Men because, you know, that's Madeline Pryor's bit. I haven't bothered with any of those. And Ben Reilly, now calling himself Chasm, takes his revenge on Peter, transports him to Limbo, where they have a bunch of silly demons being stupid and silly, and it's supposed to be this horrific, serious revenge scheme, but it. So it's Peter and J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie's there as well, and so Peter's got to get him out, and of course he will, and all of that, and they do a bunch of demons that take on the likenesses of Peter's enemies, Scorpion and Green Goblin and stuff like that. But so what? And then after this is over, there'll be another Ben Reilly that'll be better than that Ben Reilly. Because is this even the same Ben Reilly? I don't know. Yeah, Venom that was the previous issue, but nowhere. There's some little demon who's for whatever reason is actually a nice guy, and looks up to Peter Parker, and now he's become some weird version of Spider-Man. But he kind of looks like a ripoff of Venom. It doesn't matter. This was terrible. Well, not terrible in the sense of there's all kind of woke messaging or anything. No, there's none of that. It's just not very good. The only thing of interest is that, I guess it makes sense that, Madeline and Ben would see eye to eye on things, but and you push him this far as a kind of a character. They had killed him off in a heroic death, and then you bring him back. I don't know, just to be a villain. And, okay, and I just didn't care for it. So, Avengers: War Across Time. That's your best bet, as far as I know. There is another Moon Knight comic that I'll look at, but and a bunch of stuff from DC that I've got to get to. But I'm always behind because of my schedule and everything. But I think I'm done with Dark Web Spider-Man and that sort of thing. I do have another brief series they did on Ben Reilly's Spider-Man, but it takes place during his time when he took Peter's place, for a while there. They did that thing where they said, oh no, Ben Reilly was the real Peter Parker, that kind of thing. Well, I'll talk about that at a later date. So anyway, yeah, that's too bad for Spider-Man.